Have you ever stopped to realize that the deadliest weapon a man holds isn't his words, isn't betrayal, and not even love? The most powerful weapon is silence. Yes, you heard that right. In a world drowning in noise, where everyone is desperate to prove themselves, to argue, to win by shouting the loudest, it is silence that unsettles. Silence that haunts, silence that keeps people awake at night. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And today, we call that power self-mastery. Here on Shining Mirror-LVB, we don't just talk about motivation, we reveal the hidden weapons of influence, strength, and unshakable presence. And silence, my friend, might just be the sharpest blade in your arsenal. Silence, the loudest voice. Silence is not neglect. Silence is not weakness. Silence is the loudest answer a man can ever give, because it forces the other person to confront the one voice they can't escape, their own inner voice. When a man chooses silence over arguments, it doesn't mean he's surrendering. It means he refuses to waste his energy proving himself to someone who doesn't deserve it. That's not cowardice, that's power. Because the man who controls his tongue controls his world. Think about it. Anyone can lash out. Anyone can type angry words, scream, or throw accusations. That takes no discipline, but it takes a fortress of strength to remain calm, to withhold, to let your silence echo louder than words ever could. And here's the truth, when you master silence, you master yourself, and a man who masters himself becomes unshakable, untouchable, unforgettable. That's the man the world can't ignore. That's the man who commands respect without begging for it. The unpredictable man, an irresistible force. A woman can resist charm. She can ignore gifts. She can even survive a broken heart. But there is one force she cannot resist, a man she cannot control. Because power is never about chasing, it's about standing still, unshaken, untouchable. When a man doesn't crumble when affection is withdrawn, when he doesn't beg when attention is denied, he becomes a mystery too deep to solve. And mystery is magnetic. Picture this, the world pulls, tests, provokes, yet he remains calm, smiling, moving forward, locked onto a purpose greater than her approval. That kind of man is not just attractive, he's unforgettable. He's not playing her game, because he's already playing a bigger one, the game of life, destiny, and legacy. And here lies the secret. Women may admire beauty, wealth, or status, but what they cannot escape is the gravity of a man who cannot be predicted, cannot be controlled, and cannot be broken. That's not just attraction, that's timeless power. Absence, the ultimate lever of power. Imagine this, instead of wasting nights overthinking, replaying old conversations, or stalking social media, you choose a different path. You channel that energy into building your career, sharpening your mind, and sculpting a life that excites you every single morning. And here's the paradox, your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. She starts to wonder, what is he doing? Why is he glowing without me? How can he be this fulfilled when I'm no longer in the picture? That's the silent storm you create. Your absence turns into her obsession. Every unanswered question becomes fuel for her imagination. And remember this, the human mind always fills the void, and it often paints a picture far greater than reality. So, when you disappear not out of weakness, but out of purpose, you flip the script. You're no longer the man who chases. You become the man she can't stop chasing in her own mind. That is the true leverage of absence, turning silence into the loudest echo of your worth. Real life lessons for us. In love, let your silence speak of dignity. Begging for validation only makes you small. When you can walk away without needing approval, you're no longer a man chasing, you're a man chosen. In work, don't jump to react to every criticism, every email, every provocation. True leaders are not the loudest in the room, they are the calmest. Your composure forces others to question themselves, while your silence becomes the most intimidating answer. In life, stay busy, build yourself, and aim higher than temporary distractions. Travel, learn, create, connect. When your life is overflowing with purpose, you stop being an option in someone else's world. You become irreplaceable in your own. And here's the truth. Silence is not emptiness. It's the stage you build where your growth, your discipline, and your greatness perform louder than any words ever could. Inner freedom, the light of our time. The greatest freedom a man can ever achieve is not breaking chains outside, but breaking chains inside. Think about it. When your peace no longer depends on who stays, who leaves, who loves you, or who rejects you, you become unstoppable. That's real power, not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. When you no longer beg for attention, when you no longer crumble under rejection, when you no longer let someone else's opinion define your worth, you rise above the game. A man like that becomes magnetic. His presence commands respect because he is whole on his own. He doesn't chase, he doesn't need to prove. He simply is, and in that presence, people feel something they cannot resist: true power, true freedom. In today's world, this is the man who shines, not the one who screams the loudest, not the one who seeks validation, but the one who can walk through chaos with calm, and through loss with strength. That is the light the modern age needs. So, brothers, the most dangerous thing a man can ever do to a woman is not betrayal. Not leaving, not revenge, but doing absolutely nothing. That is the art of silence, the peak of self-mastery. Because when you control yourself, you control the game, and when you control the game, the world bends in your direction. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever had a moment when silence completely shifted the power dynamic? When your calm presence spoke louder than 1,000 words? Share it in the comments. Your story might be the spark another man needs to rise. And remember, this is Shining Mirror-LVB. If this message resonated with you, hit like, subscribe, and share it with your brothers. Let's build a tribe of men who rise above the noise. Men who live with power, discipline, and unshakable confidence. Because silence isn't weakness, silence is power.